Hi guys, I'm Jane. Thanks for joining me today. So we're going to do a mat workout which mainly focuses on the abs. I am going to use a ball for one exercise. You don't necessarily need to use the ball for that one exercise. So the ball is just going to increase range of motion. I'm going to pop the ball to the side for now and we're just going to make a start. So come into the front of your mat and then already start to be using those abdominals by using them to lower yourself down onto the mat. I always like to start most of my workouts with mobility. So we're going to focus on a spinal warm up first, but checking in with alignment before we go into moving the spine. So heels roughly in line with the sit bones with the same gap between the knees as you have between your feet. Checking that your eye gazes forwards at the ceiling in front of you and your ribs and your pelvis are nice and heavy in the mat. And always check for the neutral position of the pelvis, so the spine stacks itself from the pelvis. If the pelvis isn't in its neutral position, it's impossible for the spine to be. So we've got 3 bony landmarks at the front of your pelvis, so the 2 pelvic bones and the pubic bone. So I want you to just put the heels of your hands on your pelvic bones, lengthen your fingertips to your pubic bone and draw your thumbs towards one another. So you've created a triangle shape with your hands, and I refer to this as the pelvic triangle. So I want you to adjust your pelvis until those 3 bones are level and your triangle is square to the ceiling. So this is the neutral pelvis, and now I've organised the pelvis, the rib cage, the head and the neck. The spine is now as close to its neutral position as your body allows. And neutral spine is really important because it's the place where the spine is in its strongest position. Today's workout we're going to be moving in and out of neutral, but we need to know where to come back to every time we move out of this alignment. Focus on your breath now, so hands on your ribs, and then take a few moments breathing deep and full into the back and into the sides of the rib cage. So on your in-breath, you're widening the back ribs into the mat, the side ribs expand out to the side walls, and then feeling on the exhalation how the back and the sides of the rib cage narrow and come close together. So using your out breath to connect to your deep core muscles, the pelvic floor, navel to spine, I cue that by gently pulling up and gently drawing in, and then keeping your breath in your rib cage above your belly button so that you can maintain the control of your deep core muscles. Now staying with your breath, arms come to the side of your body, and on your out breath, I want you to rock your pelvis backwards, tipping your triangle to your chest, using the in breath to release back to neutral. So just working between your backwards tilt and your neutral pelvis. Aiming to do this with as little effort as possible so you don't feel that you're pushing into your feet and using your legs. So the less you use your legs, the more you feel the control of this movement is coming from the torso. So gently feeling the work the lower abs have to do to round the lower back into the mat. Now when you feel the control of this, use your next backwards tilt to make your way up into a bridge. So lifting the pelvis off the mat and then peeling the spine away from the mat one bone by one. So the goal will be to lift up onto your shoulders, but lift where you're comfortable lifting and then slowly roll down vertebra by vertebra. So the back of the chest finds the mat, then the back ribs, then the back of the waist, pelvis comes down last. So we're going to do that a couple more times. So initiating the movement from the pelvis, feel that you're driving the movement from the abdominals. So the action of tipping your triangle to your chest is the action that engages the abdominals. So I'm going to reinforce tipping your triangle to your chest as you roll down. So you feel the segmental control that your abdominals have of your spine. That ability to come down one bone by one, and on the way up, we're peeling the spine away from the mat one bone by one. So although the intensity is in the back of the legs and the buttocks, I want to try and feel the control that the abdominals have of the spine here. So we're warming up through the abdominals because we're using them to articulate that spine. And we're going to do this one more time. This is a nice way of really opening up through the front of the hips, guys. And I always like to do that before abdominal work because sometimes when the front of the hip is really tight, they can inhibit you from using your abdominals as well. So keeping that pelvis in neutral, and I want you to interlock your hands behind your head. So your thumbs are sitting at the base of your skull, your fingers are fanned out wide across the back of the head, revisiting your breath. On your next out breath, I want you to curl the head, neck and shoulders off the mat, so you're rounding your upper spine forwards and then using the in-breath to roll down through the spine. Initiate the movement from the thorax, so the front bottom ribs drop down to lift the head and chest up, and then slowly rolling down so the head is last to come down. So by initiating from the thorax, we get more abdominal recruitment. A lot of people, when they're new to spine curls, they'll push their head forwards in order to pull the spine forwards, and that just gets you into your neck. So as I do this, I'm trying to press the back of my head into my hands to remind the neck to relax. Now we're going to add on, so curling up and staying up, and you should be able to see your pelvis is in its neutral position here. I want you to tip your triangle to your chest, so your lower back rounds into the mat, and then just curl your pelvis off the mat, but trying to keep the height of the head and the chest. Rolling down. As I roll down, I'm going to see if I can curl my upper torso a little higher. Probably doesn't look like I'm going anywhere, but it feels like I am. And then slowly roll down, bone by bone. So just 2 more of those. So ribs drop down, lifting the head and chest. As you tip your triangle to your chest, feel how your pubic bone moves closer to your belly button, and feel how the muscle fibres in the lower abdomen shortens, and then rolling down, lengthening through the lower abdominals again, and then rolling down. So 1 more. So we're really mobilising at the 2 ends of the spine here. I'm still trying to keep the gap between my chin and the chest the same, so I'm keeping my airway open. Now you can hear my voice, it's a little bit trembly because my abs are working hard. So I'm going to keep that lift through the upper torso, pelvis stays stable, and then just lift one leg to tabletop, and then lower that foot back down to the spot that's to your left. So the bonus here, guys, is because the head and chest is lifted, you can actually see your pelvis. Your focus is to make sure that when that leg lifts up, there's no rotation through that pelvis. So you've got to anticipate the lift of the leg by keeping that opposite side nice and heavy on the mat before you even lift your leg. Now if you can, we're going to add a little bit more challenge here, and we're going to lift the 2 legs up and lower the 2 legs down. So I'm using the in-breath to lift and the out-breath to lower, because for me, the bit that takes most abdominal control is when the legs go down to the mat. The weight of the legs are trying to arch my spine off the floor. So I'm using the exhale to engage my abdominals, so the abdominals facilitate stabilising the spine. So keeping that lift, bring the legs together at the top, and you're going to open your knees to frog and then close the knees. So open and close. So just really warming up into the hip rotators, still trying to maintain those abdominals. So I want you to keep a frog and then flex the feet, so be active with the feet, lowering those legs back down and lifting up. And if you can, as the legs go down, I want your torso to roll down and then lift everything up together. So now I've got to really work hard at the 2 ends of the torso to stabilise my spine at the bottom, so the weight of the legs are not arching that lower spine off the mat. And as I roll down, I have to anchor my ribcage into the mat. So with my hands behind my head, I'm not allowing the weight of my arms to arch the ribs off the floor. So this is work in 2 directions. So you're going to hold your lift, keep checking my shoulders, and this time we're going to do a reverse curl. So we're going to revisit that pelvic tilt. So tip your triangle, bring your knees towards your elbows, and then roll down. So I want you to initiate that lift from the abs. Lower back round into the floor, and it's as though you're pushing the floor away from you with your lower spine, using the strength of your abdominals to do that. The legs are involved, but you're minimising the work the legs are doing. Now, if you can, guys, we're going to reach the tailbone long and then push the legs out. So adding a little bit more work for those abdominals to do to stabilise the spine. See if you can fully reach those legs out each time, squeezing those inner thighs together. So you will definitely feel this in your lower abs. And you can definitely hear my voice here. I'm definitely getting lower ab work. So 1 more. And this time, instead of extending the legs, I'm going to keep that pelvis in neutral. Roll down, just give my upper abs a little bit of a break, but still having to work to stabilise the spine. So curling back up. This time we're going to rotate to the right, coming back to the centre, and then rotate to the left. So as I twist, I'm thinking about bottom shoulder reaching downwards towards the floor, so that top shoulder feels like it's reaching across to the opposite hip. Trying to keep the pelvis and the neck stable, so I'm turning my head from the waist and the middle back, anchoring through the pelvis here, so the rib cage has got something stable to turn against. Adding the lever length now, so reach to your opposite ankle and reach, and then speeding it up a little bit, but without losing form. Breathing out every reach across, so one more each side. And then control those legs down, allow the knees to open, reach your arms out. So just stretching. And then rolling onto your side, and this is optional if you use the ball, but all the ball serves to do is increase range of motion. So I'm going to pop the ball underneath my bottom ribs and just stretch the bottom arm along the floor. Okay, so just allow your head to rest down on the bottom arm and just check that your heels, hips, bottom shoulder are roughly on the same line. The more bent forward your legs are, the more stability they lend to the exercise. So here we don't want the feet behind, because that's really going to challenge stability. So in this position, just let your top arm rest at the side of your body. If your balance needs a little bit more help, keep your hand down in front of your chest. And I'm just taking advantage of the ball, because my spine is contouring the shape of the ball is opening up through those top ribs, just focusing on breathing into that top lung, bringing some expansion of the rib cage. Now on your out breath, I want you to feel that you're reaching your bottom ribs downwards into the ball, or it could be the floor, to lift the head up to the side and the body up to the side, and then coming back down. So just doing a side bend, so feeling the top ribs slide towards that top hip and then lowering down. So if you wanted to take advantage of that ball a little bit more, you can reach the top arm over your head, further opening up for those top ribs. Seeing if you can challenge it, guys, by lifting that bottom arm off the floor and then coming back down. Now if you're not using the ball, it's going to take a little bit more effort to lift that bottom arm off the floor, but it is doable. And again, the benefits are in the trying. So if the arm doesn't leave the floor, but it feels like it's leaving the floor, you're still going to get that abdominal activation. Now lift up and stay up. We're going to hold it, and then top arm reaches up, top arm to the side. We're going to do 4 more, so 4 and 3, that top side arm to really work hard to hold me up. Gravity's trying to sink me down, and then just release. And then the nice thing with that ball is it helps you rotate forward, so you get a nice stretch through the back ribs. Okay, so pushing up, we're going to do that on the other side. So just making sure, guys, that you've got enough space to stretch that bottom arm along the floor. If you're doing this in your living room like me, you might not have the space that you're used to. Checking where your alignment is, head resting on that bottom arm. And again, just breathing into your rib cage, just get an awareness of the rib cage placement, where your head is in line with your spine. And then on the out breath, ribs drop down, lift the head and chest up. So this is work. It's a lot of work for those side abdominals and also your lateral neck flexors. So a lot of people do feel this work in the neck, and it's not wrong to, because the neck is working. Now minimise pressing into that bottom arm as you do it. So the less you use your arm, the more we have to use the side abdominals closest to the ceiling. And then having that nice stretch just because it feels good. And then the reach of the arm will also facilitate with the lift of the spine. And if you can, we're going to add a hover and then release. And it really is small, it's not a big gratifying movement, but it really feels like a lot of work through those side abdominals, and you're challenging balance here as well. And then see if you can lift up and stay up, and then top arm, we'll do this 5 times, so 5, 4, 3 I'm really challenging my balance. 2 and 1, and then release, and then stretch. So really reaching from the elbow into the waist, and then pushing up. Okay, so for me, an ultimate ab exercise is a plank. We can do plank on hands or elbow plank. So today I'm coming into the elbow plank option. So elbows directly underneath the shoulders, shoulders lengthening away from the ears, and you're going to really lift the chest bone upwards away from the mat, and then walk the knees back. Now, I want you to walk the knees back until you perceive that your pelvis is level with your shoulders. So we've got that tabletop position. I'm always looking for good placement of the shoulders. So reaching the shoulders away from the ears, but trying to create width between the shoulder blades. So you have to push down to your elbows and your forearms. Now keep the upwards energy of the rib cage. That's the action that engages the abdominals. The abdominals support the spine, and if we can get the lift up through the ribs, it allows you to find that pubic bone to belly button connection. It's got a little bit more access to the lower abdominals when we work higher up in those abdominals. If you can, lift those knees. Now, if by lifting those knees, your lower back sinks, take the knees back down. So we've got to be able to stabilise. And then I want you to see if you can pike those hips upwards, and then keep that top of the pelvis as you bring your weight forwards. We're going to do about 3 more times. So pubic bone to belly button, lift your hips, shoulders lengthen away from the ears as you come forward, trying to find that tabletop position. So again, it's your perception of where your body is in space. Last one. And that's a lot of work for those abs. Lower yourself down, and to stretch the abdominals, we're going to counter with some back extension. So just go into a nice easy swan. So I'm not going to over teach this. If you've been following some of my other videos, I've taught it quite a few times in previous sessions. So pelvis nice and level, shoulders lengthening away from the ears, and you're going to hover your head, reach your chest bone forwards to the front edge of the mat, creating that back bend in the upper spine. And then if it feels good, start to press into your hands and see if you can lift a little higher through the spine. And then bending the elbows, letting your belly find the mat, then the ribs, then the chest, then the forehead. So I'm using that sense of drawing my shoulder blades downwards to reach my chest more forwards and more upwards. Really stretching through those abs, and then coming back down, bone by bone. So we've got 1 more like this, guys, and really doing this to stretch through the front of the torso, pushing back through those legs, and then coming back down and pushing back onto those heels. And I hope you felt the work in those abs.